Welcome to another edition of Hursley Park. It's our intention in this series to take you into areas you might not normally visit. Also in this issue, we go to machine technology and to the world of medicine at the Scientific Centre in Winchester. We drop in on a social occasion at Hursley House, and we welcome to Hursley House a most important visitor. But first, news of the site, the 100,000 square feet extension to D Block, which on the date promised, 21st of October, was handed over to IBM's Don Howard of Property Management. And then, in turn, all of this advanced plant and technology was handed over to Dave Biddlecombe of Hursley. Outside, the landscaping was showing the first signs of life. But it'll be many years before it achieves the maturity of the sunken garden, where, during a golden day in early October, we met the Hursley Area Council. You may recall that for over 10 years, IBM was involved in an antitrust suit in the United States, and only last year we settled with the EEC. It was because of the importance of antitrust law and the need to maintain constant awareness that we asked Guy Miller to talk to us about his role as area council.
My whole business here really is watching the development process. I'm here to make sure that the products that we develop in this lab and market worldwide do not offend the antitrust laws, the competition laws, primarily in America, within the EEC, and within any country that we intend to market that product. I am not here to do housekeeping things, personnel, labor, and whatever. That's all covered by IBM UK lawyers. But I am here to watch the process, and that means getting involved in it early, understanding what the products are, and how we intend to market them, how we are pricing them, just to make sure that we don't get ourselves into a lawsuit or a complaint from either a competitor or a law enforcement agency.
Guy, is it of any significance that you and your predecessors are US-trained lawyers?
As I mentioned earlier, the main business is antitrust law. The main antitrust law that IBM deals with is American. And I think it's that experience that we have had in America, the American lawyers have had, that is found to be a very valuable commodity. So we bring that to the labs in Birmingham and Lagode and here. In fact, you may know that there is a UK lawyer right now in America he's the area counsel in Tucson. So he's covering in Tucson everything. That is the housekeeping law I was talking about and the antitrust law and so on.
You were here as legal counsel between 1975 and 1977. Could you possibly comment on the difference that you have seen in Hursley in the intervening years?
Well, I really think there's a much more positive spirit here than in those days. That, and more importantly, I suppose, is I think the food's a lot better. One of the nicest things that was said to me when I came back at the second day in the cafeteria, one of the fellows, Bill Noble, saw me coming down through the cafeteria and he said, "Hi, Guy, welcome home." And I just felt glad all over, as they say in the cartoon strips. I really was very happy to be back, and it's been like coming home.
Let's go back indoors to D Block, but now to machine technology, where the designers use advanced computer-aided design systems to produce card and chip layouts.
And find ourselves a valid location, so let's put it there. As we see,
Sam Sultana of the MCT Logic Group recently demonstrated these systems to Dr. Jan Stewart and his colleagues from Portsmouth Polytechnic.
Here, look at it and think, is that any good?
Now, how long did it take Sam to learn?
The visitors also saw, courtesy of the special physical design group, custom card design. And this was demonstrated by Dave Smith.
And then merge in on a 0.1 grid, testing every conceivable position. If the wire doesn't end on
Such visits are an important link between our development activities, the marketplace, and the academic and scientific communities. IBM United Kingdom's own scientific community has strong links with the world of medicine. At the Scientific Centre, we asked Dr. Roger Hake about one such link.
The Brompton Hospital is one of the leading hospitals for chest disease in the country. They're interested in a wide variety of chest disorders, heart disorders, lung disorders, and so on. And we're working with them on this specific project, which is looking at things called angiograms. Now, angiograms are X-rays of vessels within the body.
Working with our scientists is Dr. David Smith.
The work I'm doing is to use the computers that are provided down here to derive three-dimensional qualities from two-dimensional images of the heart so that we can produce moving three-dimensional images of the heart chambers.
From the digitization of these images, the adjoining graphics laboratory then produces a color three-dimensional simulation of the beating heart. One evening in early October, YTS coordinator Chris West hosted an informal gathering of parents, trainees, supervisors and manpower service representatives in Hursley House auditorium. The evening was a finale to the year of work experience gained by these young people. The presentations were made by Dave Biddlecombe, Laboratory Administration Manager, each trainee receiving certificates gained during the year. A travelling clock was also presented to each trainee to remind them of their time with IBM. After the presentations, it was only a short walk to the buffet in Hursley House reception, which provided a sociable end to a very successful evening. Success was also enjoyed by the young people themselves, all but one of whom are now permanently employed. A week later in Hursley House reception, civic leaders and IBM executives waited patiently. Our visitor was His Royal Highness, the Duke of Gloucester, welcomed by Sir Edwin Nixon. Hursley's last royal visitor, 42 years ago, was His Royal Highness, the Duke of Kent, the late uncle of today's royal visitor. Today, on the same spot, the Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire introduced His Royal Highness to the Mayor of Winchester, Councillor Mrs. Jean Freeman, and to her daughter, the Mayoress, Mrs. G. Wills. After a few light-hearted pleasantries, it was the turn of Laboratory Director Jack Hockley and Winchester's Chief Executive, Mr. D.H. Cowan. Escorted into Hursley House reception by Sir Edwin, His Royal Highness was introduced to senior directors of IBM. These included Tony Cleaver, John Fairclough, and Nick Jonas. To mark the occasion, His Royal Highness was invited to sign the visitor's book. Jack Hockley then took the Duke on a lightning tour of Hursley Park using the site model in the east wing of Hursley House. The Duke of Gloucester is president of the National Association of Boys' Clubs, and the occasion of his visit to Hampshire was the Golden Jubilee of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Association of Boys' Clubs. It seemed appropriate, therefore, that he should see in the auditorium demonstrations typical of those shown to young people who visit the laboratory. These were given by IBM employees and YTS trainees. Accompanied by Jack Hockley and Sir Edwin, His Royal Highness first saw the PC-80GX and advanced graphics demonstrated by Pauline Lamont Fisher of Graphics Systems. Next, Malcolm Smeal and Paul Carey gave a demonstration of CADAM using both the 3250 and 5080. Meanwhile, our other visitors, in two parties hosted by Norman Ashton and Colin Butterworth, were enjoying other demonstrations. The ping-pong ball robot, demonstrated by Susan Lobo, an IBM-sponsored student at Brunel University, was particularly enjoyed. His Royal Highness was most intrigued by the robot, as was Sir Edwin. The Duke soon spotted how to trigger the hidden sensor using his fountain pen. Across the corridor, in the customer executive classroom, tables were set for lunch. After lunch, the royal party, His Royal Highness escorted by Jack Hockley, walked from Hursley House to a helicopter of the Queen's flight. The crew stood by. And after all the handshakes and the official farewells, His Royal Highness boarded his helicopter. And when the royal party were all aboard, the signal was given to start the rotors. And the royal visit to Hursley Park was over. The noise of the engines and the downwash of the rotors briefly disturbed the tranquility of Hursley Park. We'll be reporting on the trees and the grounds in our next issue, when more doors will be opened and more visits covered. Look out for this in December, the season of mistletoe.